The headman's wife stood in a backyard. We went to meet her after a discussion for the Mahalir Kulu. All the women had agreed and we had a plan. We went to her home and she was standing in the backyard as I told you. But all of us were so scared to speak to her. Everyone nudged and pushed me forward and I too gathered all my courage and went, approached her and said, "Vanakkam, Amma. I have come." I looked back at them. At once the lady, a short round lady with a dark face, a sharp nose and a bit of her upper teeth actually protruded as she spoke or smiled. She stood there. She looked at me and said, "Why have you come?" So, hesitantly I began, "Amma, vandunga. We are starting a Mahalir Kulu in our village. All good things are headed by your husband, our Talaivar. So we thought we will come and we will honor you, and it would be something very great if you could come as our chief guest." At once, the headman's wife, she was touching her thick gold chain on her neck, and then she touched her flowers deck and she looked excited but didn't show it out. So she said, "Me? Amongst you? Do you know what you're asking for?" I had to reply, "Amma, it will be in the Palwadi." A week later, the Mahalir Kulu formally was inaugurated. And then with that Anburaj sir's guidance, whom Verna had introduced as promised, our group went to open an account in the bank. We were so happy and everyone had contributed to even redeem Kanaha out of years of torment. The headman's wife unwittingly received the money she had lent to Kanaha in the midst of a great applause in the gathering as she inaugurated that day. So everyone in the village knew that Kanaha had repaid an amount and did not have to work for the headman's lady or pay her money anymore. We had good laugh over it after some time. Very soon, the name Anburaj too became a very common name in our household because of the group. He met all the women and also helped the daughters of each family learn tailoring with the help of an other self-help group. We received training and free tailoring machines were given for us to begin with, and also we were given information about where to get material, cloth, thread, needles and all size charts. All kind of information was given to us. Life seemed to go on well and meetings were held regularly, and even the way of living in the village totally changed. Women became even more busy. We did not waste time chewing pan and spitting out the beetle juice here and there. We were more engaged with the group and helping out each other. Life went on like this for years, and I also went back to Amma and Ayya's house to work. Their younger daughter Maureen, she was a very nice girl. She used to listen to the stories, and every time she listened to whatever I was doing, and when she heard I was working for the Mahalir Kulu, she really appreciated me and said, "Very good, very good." I also told her one story. I will tell that same story to you now. I had began participating in political events also because now I was a famous person with my people there in the village. So one time what happened is a group, I think from the Communist Party, they called me and they took me along with them to Delhi. Just see how I went to Delhi. So we were around 10 people in the group, and we sat for a very long time at Chennai railway station for the Delhi train. That time a policeman came and he was inquiring to us about why we are sitting in the train for the train and what we are going to do, where we are going. It was just a casual talk. You know, sometimes they get so bored with all their policing work, and when they see people like us, especially people like us going to Delhi, he was a bit inquisitive. So he started and said, "Enga poringa?" I told, "Delhi ki poye parliament katta porom." He laughed. "Engita," meaning, "Where are you going?" So again we said, "Ayya, Delhi ki." We are going to shout out all our worries. We are poor. We work for our daily wages on construction sites and fields. We do menial jobs working in homes, washing vessels, clothes, sweeping, mopping floors. We are the reason for the people to live comfortable lives. We are the reason for their luxury. But does anyone care about us? Our comfort, our luxury is but a privilege to have a meal a day. Don't you know, sir, with the rising petrol prices, the possibility of buying grains is not possible. Even to have some kanji and drink has become a rarity in our families. The maximum, that is, we women can earn per day is around 60 and men around 120. So most of the time we go jobless when there is rain, jobless when there is a rise in the prices of building material. How is it possible for us to survive with the little we earn? If a kilo of rice will be 30 rupees and parupanga is sold at 90 rupees, onions are sold at 60 and tomatoes at 40 and so. You know too, sir, don't you? The policeman was astounded by the way I replied, and he didn't say much. He just looked smilingly. He thought illiterate women talking so much about the current affairs. And he told, even we are victims of rising prices. He also added, if you are asked to speak in the UN, you will smash it. With this, he left. So when I was telling Moral about this, she giggled in amusement and she loved every bit of the story I was telling her. Story illinga, truth. Then I continued with my narration. When we got down at Delhi station, we were escorted by the Communist Party workers. We were so at awe at the massiveness of the capital. It was evident we were in the capital. It was so nice, and it was pompous. It was large. For some time, we did not even realize how hungry we were. And then we were taken to the Parliament ground and we tidied ourselves. So somebody from the Parliament canteen, they went and they brought some food. Idli and upma are available in the canteen. It's meant for MPs, Parliament staff, security, journalists and so. And we had to pay. So the person who went to get food for us came back and took money from our purse. So I took money and gave. How much is idli? Asked a gruffy voice, seemingly unhappy having to pay for the food. They had promised us tickets, food and transportation charges. 8, replied the person who was taking money from us. And the upma will be 8 as well. We were blinking and looking at each other. We had expected the food in Delhi to be very expensive. But see, it was cheaper than the hotel food served back home. How is this possible? And then they said, of course, here it is the Parliament canteen. So, food is not expensive. Okay? And it does not exist anywhere, this price. We had our breakfast and then we went and there was a spot shown to us where we had to stand and shout out in chorus. Needi vendum, needi vendum. ஏழை மக்களுக்கு நீதி வேண்டும். ஒருவேளை கஞ்சி அரிசி வேண்டும். வாழ்வாதாரத்தில் அரிசி வாங்க முடியவில்லை. உணவு வேண்டும். நீதி வேண்டும், நீதி வேண்டும். ஏழை மக்களுக்கு நீதி வேண்டும். So this was our slogan, which said, we want justice. We are not able to buy our daily ration and we need food. So the slogan was chanted along with others for some time. And we had, accomplished whatever we had to do. And we were so happy. I could come back home and also tell everyone about the tales of how I went to Delhi, stood before the Parliament, not before the Parliament, somewhere near the Parliament, and shouted. Our slogan was in Tamil, and I don't know how many of them actually understood what we were even shouting for. Anyway, we were not the only ones who were shouting there. There were so many others. Coming back home after some time, there was another remarkable thing that happened in our Mahalir Kulu. That is the women's welfare group. We wanted electricity connection for all our houses. So we went to the TNEB, Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, to request for electric connections for the houses and street lights. The junior engineer responded, okay, probably write a letter for the connection and submit it in the office. He went on. So I approached one of the clerks and told that we wanted to write a letter. And the clerk informed that everybody had to write the letter and sign it. He wrote the letter formally for me and told, get signature from everyone. I will submit it in the office. So I went to get the signature from the other women. Very sincerely they came. And after my signature, they had to follow. You know what? There were around 27 thumb impressions that were effortlessly laid in a row. Oval impressions with indigo ink. It made me realize how ignorant. Why am I the only one who has written something? What about them? As usual, I started thinking, why was I the only one to sign my name? Why did the others have thumb impressions? The bus actually stopped near Buona's household, near the Agraharam. At the Agraharam, the Brahmin community had witnessed my friendship with Buona Blossom. So they knew me very well, and as I was walking towards Buona's house, I greeted a few who I knew. They greeted me back. The Agraharam was very beautiful, or is beautiful even now. It has identical houses with identical tiles, with high, long verandas. Usually the men sit on the entrance in the evenings enjoying the breeze, and the women, they get busy visiting temples. They wear madisar and they deck their ears, hands and nose with diamond-studded jewelry. It's often a wonderful sight to watch them sing bhajans and perform their Bharatanatyam, depicting mythological, spiritual stories told over centuries. It's wonderful. If you get time, you should watch them dance and also sing. As I neared Buona's house, I hoped she would be there. I noticed the oil lamp lit and kept on either side of the main door in its tiny dome. So there I was standing and I called out, Buona. She came out with a smile. And that day we chose to sit out on the veranda and chat. I told Buona how much I was in dismay and embarrassed as I saw all ink marks in indigo on the letter. At once Buona, in her usual manner, said, Don't worry, come to school tomorrow. We will see what can be done. The women can learn under the Mudiyor Kalvi. We can teach them to read and sign their name. So on Friday evening, I'll see you. I spent some more time with Buona and went. And as planned on Friday, I addressed the Mahalir Suya Udavikulu and informed the ladies that they are going to learn. Everyone was so excited and we walked towards the school building. This was a new beginning for each one of us women. We went there and saw that Bhuwana had made all the arrangements for the class. I noticed a big blackboard mounted on a wooden tripod. There was chalk, dust on the floor, but that's alright. So, it was time to gain knowledge. We started learning. And Amsavalli, Rukku, Swami Amma and the others, they all enjoyed and said, "This is nice. Probably we should also pack some food or snacks when we are coming." So one day a lady, she came and she told that she had problems with the conductor. He was shouting every time at her because she could not read the names of places. So I came up with an idea and told that I would write a rhyme. So I wrote a rhyme with the numbers of bus number 1 and its destination, bus number 2, its destination, 3, its destination, and I taught the rhyme to all the women in my Suya Udavi group. So bus number with the destination. So all they had to do is remember the bus number to go to the proper destination and not trouble the conductor. I had been narrating all this to Maureen when Jaybal approached me and said, "Kalyani, it's time to go home." "Yes, I think so. It's time for me to go." I had completed an entire cycle by returning to the kitchens where I had started. And probably someday the world will know